You're sitting at your desk, staring at your laptop screen. Your fingers are hovering over the keyboard and your heart is beating directly in your throat. You have refreshed the portal page 3 times. You finally click the button that says View Status Update. Your eyes scan the page looking for the word congratulations, but instead, they land on a phrase that makes your stomach instantly drop. We regret to inform you. In a fraction of a second, a heavy, suffocating wave of heat rushes onto you. Your chest tightens, you close the tab, slide your phone across the bed, and bury your face in your hands. You feel entirely hollow, deeply embarrassed, and suddenly terrified about your future. You think, I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. Everyone else is moving forward, and I'm being left behind. Why does a few lines of text on a screen have the power to completely shatter our self-worth? Why do smart, exceptionally hard-working teenagers feel like their entire identity is erased the moment an institution passes on them? Society tells us that rejection is a personal verdict on our potential. We label ourselves as failures. We look at our peers' highlight reels on social media and assume we just didn't measure up. But cognitive psychology and evolutionary biology tell a completely different story. Today, we're opening up Season 2 by tackling the ultimate perfectionist nightmare. We're going to look at the neuroscience of why rejection physically hurts, dive into why the modern admissions and opportunity landscape is a statistical numbers game rather than a moral judgment, and explore the exact research-backed steps you need to take to transform a no into rocket fuel for your actual goals. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Progress Over Perfect. If you're new here, this is your safe space for organizing your life, leveling up your mindset, and managing the intense pressures of being a young person today. We deal with reality, actual data, and practical strategies that make sense for real students navigating in an incredibly competitive world. In our previous season, we talked extensively about the brain's baseline responses to stress, but rejection is a completely different beast. It doesn't just stress you out, it shakes your foundation. So today, we're going to unpack the science of social rejection, look at the systematic realities of why competitive opportunities operate the way they do, and build an actionable, psychological toolkit to help you bounce back faster and stronger than before. To handle rejection without letting it destroy your self-esteem, you first have to understand why your brain reacts to it so violently. According to groundbreaking neuroimaging research funded by the National Institutes of Health and conducted by Dr. Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA, social rejection activates the exact same neural pathways as physical pain. So if you have ever received a rejection letter and felt a physical ache in your chest or a sickness in your stomach, you aren't being dramatic. Your brain is literally processing emotional rejection as a physical injury. Why would our biology do this to us? It all comes down to survival. Thousands of years ago, people depended on their communities to stay alive. If someone was rejected or forced out of their group, it would mean facing predators, starvation, or danger alone. Because of that, our brains developed a powerful alarm system that treats rejection as something really serious. The problem is, your brain can't always tell the difference between being left behind thousands of years ago and getting a rejection email from college or internship today. It reacts in a very similar way. But once you understand that, everything starts making sense. The pain you feel isn't proof you're weak or that rejection was right. It simply makes your brain trying to control you the way it only knows how. As Carol Dweck explains in Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, what matters most isn't avoiding setbacks, it's learning how to grow from them. Instead of letting that alarm control your choices, you can slow down, think clearly, and decide what you can do next. This brings us to something I call the rejection loop. If you're a high school student or a young adult, you're applying for opportunities during one of the most competitive times in recent history. Colleges, scholarships, internships, and jobs receive more applications than ever before. That means many students who are completely qualified will still end up hearing a no. What does that mean in plain English? It means these schools aren't companies usually choosing between the good and the bad. They're choosing between hundreds or even thousands of amazing people. Sometimes the decision comes down to what the school or company happen to need at that moment, not whether you're capable. When we don't realize this, we fall into the rejection loop. It starts when you put your heart into an application, then you get rejected, and instead of thinking, that company wasn't the right fit, you think, I'm not good enough. Your brain wants to protect you from feeling like that pain again, so it convinces you to stop taking chances. You only apply for things that feel safe, and little by little, your world gets smaller and your growth slows down. To break that cycle, you have to separate your self-worth from the outcome. A rejection is simply one moment in time. It is not a definition of who you are. So how do we train ourselves to bounce back after hearing no? Here are 3 simple strategies. The first one would be to adopt a growth mindset. Psychologist Carol Dweck has spent decades studying how to respond to failure. In Mindset, she explains that people with a fixed mindset believe rejection means they're simply not talented enough. People with a growth mindset see it differently, and instead of saying, I'm a failure, they ask, what can I learn from this? Every rejection becomes information that helps them improve for the next opportunity. As Dweck reminds us, becoming better is always more important than proving you're already perfect. The second way would be to use the 24-hour rule. When rejection hurts, don't pretend you're fine 5 minutes later. Give yourself 1 day to feel disappointed, cry if you need to, talk to your family, vent to a friend, eat your favorite snack. Let yourself be human. But when those 24 hours are over, it's time to move forward. Look at your next opportunity, make a plan, and take another step. Feeling your emotions is healthy, but living in them forever only keeps you stuck. The third step would be to build more than one part of your identity. One of the healthiest things you can do is to remember that you are more than one achievement. If your entire identity depends on getting into one college, making one team, or getting one internship, that one rejection can feel like your whole world is falling apart. But if you see yourself as a student, a sibling, a friend, an artist, an athlete, a volunteer, or someone who loves learning, one disappointment wouldn't define your life. You'll still have so many other parts of yourself standing strong. As we practice handling rejection, there's one huge mistake you should avoid, which is the personalization trap. When we get rejected, we often assume the decision was deeply personal. We imagine someone read our application and decided we weren't good enough. The truth is much less dramatic. Admissions offices and hiring teams often have hundreds or even thousands of applications to review, and they usually don't have much time to spend on each one. They usually don't know your personality, your sense of humor, your kindness, or how hard you work to get where you are. They are making a difficult decision with limited time and limited space. When you remember that, it becomes easier to stop treating one rejection like a judgment of your entire life. Now, it's your turn. Over the next 7 days, I want you to complete your own Rejection Resilience Audit. Step 1. Think about one rejection or disappointment you've experienced recently. Write down exactly how it made you feel. Step 2. Next, write down your 3 reasons that rejection may have happened and that have nothing to do with your worth as a person. Maybe there were too many applicants, maybe the organization needed something different, maybe it wasn't the right timing. Step 3. Finally, do something that feels a little scary. Apply for something new. Email someone you admire. Submit your work somewhere. Ask a question you've been afraid to ask. The goal isn't getting a yes. The goal is proving yourself that even if the answer is no, you'll be okay. As Carol Dweck reminds us in Mindset, every challenge is another As Carol Dweck reminds us in the book Mindset, every challenge is another opportunity to learn, improve, and keep going. That's how confidence is built, not by avoiding rejection, but by surviving it. Thank you so much for kicking off Season 2 of Progress Over Perfect with me. Life is full of applications, interviews, auditions, and opportunities where the answer might not always be yes. But that doesn't mean you're falling behind. It simply means you're living a life that's big enough to include risks. If this episode helped you see rejection a little differently, I'd really appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, left a comment, or share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, the goal isn't to have a perfect record. The goal is to keep making progress. Your rejections are not the end of your story. They're just the chapters that help shape it. Give yourself some grace this week, keep showing up, and I'll talk to you next time.